Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring high-ticket hypnotherapy. It's kind of a fascinating business model that's shaking things up in the world of therapy. You sent us some excerpts from Virginie Eymere's guide, The Art of Selling High-Ticket Transformations, and it's specifically for online hypnotherapists. And I'm curious to hear what you think about this approach.
Yeah, it's definitely a shift from that traditional model where hypnotherapists are charging like per session, often around $100 or so. The guide argues that that model just isn't sustainable for most therapists.
And why is that? I mean, I can see how that hourly rate might seem appealing at first, but maybe there's more to it than meets the eye.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. The guide kind of breaks down the economics of it, and it's pretty eye-opening when you really factor in all the work that goes on behind the scenes, things like prep time, dot research, customizing scripts or audio for each client. That $100 per session quickly shrinks.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's like any profession where there's more than just the face-to-face time.
Precisely. And Virginie points out that in this model, therapists often end up working for less than minimum wage.
Wow.
It's just not sustainable in the long run.
So what's the alternative? How does this high-ticket model address these challenges?
Well, it starts with a really fundamental shift in mindset. Instead of focusing on hourly rates, it's about understanding the value of the transformation that the client is seeking. It's not about how many sessions it takes, but the ultimate outcome they're paying for.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But how do you quantify the value of something as personal and intangible as a transformation?
That's a great question. The guide uses this analogy of a leather bag that might cost like $100 in India, but if you put a Chanel label on it, suddenly it's worth $9,000.
Oh, wow.
It's about perceived value.
So it's not just about the actual cost
Yeah?
of materials or time, but the brand,
Yeah.
the story, the perception of exclusivity and quality.
You got it. And Virginie argues that hypnotherapists need to do a better job of communicating that value to their clients. Think about someone who wants to quit smoking. They might initially just see it as paying for a few sessions, but if you frame it as an investment in their long-term health, finances, relationships, that's where the real value lies.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this reframes the conversation entirely. It's not just about stopping smoking. It's about all the positive ripple effects that come with it.
Right. And when you consider the potential cost of not addressing the issue, the value of the transformation becomes even clearer.
So instead of saying, my fee is $100 per session, a hypnotherapist using this high-ticket model would say something like,
They'd focus on the desired outcome. They might say, my program to help you become a non-smoker is $3,000.
okay,
It's a bolder approach, but it shifts the focus from time to results.
that's quite a price difference. I imagine some clients might balk at that kind of investment,
Yeah.
even if they understand the value in theory.
Absolutely, and that's where things get really interesting. The guide dives into the psychology of pricing and how to address those objections.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this psychology of pricing. I'm fascinated by how our perceptions of value are influenced by things like cost.
Well, one interesting point the guide makes is that people often associate higher prices with greater expertise and effectiveness. It's like that old saying, you get what you pay for.
I can see that. If two hypnotherapists offer the same service,
Yeah.
but one charges significantly more, it's natural to assume that they have something special to offer.
Exactly. And the guide uses this great anecdote about locksmiths to kind of illustrate this point. Let's say you're locked out of your house. Would you rather hire the locksmith who charges $50 but takes an hour to get the door open, or the one who charges $200 but gets it done in 5 minutes?
That's a tough one. I'd probably be tempted to go with the cheaper option, especially if I was in a hurry. But then again, the faster locksmith might have more specialized tools or techniques.
Right, and that's the point Virginia is making. We often associate speed and efficiency with greater skill and expertise, which in turn justifies a higher price.
So how does this apply to the world of hypnotherapy? Are clients really looking for the fastest transformation possible?
It's not necessarily about speed for the sake of speed, but about efficiency and getting to the root of the issue quickly. Virginie argues that it's in everyone's best interest, the clients and the therapists, to achieve the desired outcome in the most efficient way possible.
That makes sense. So instead of dragging out therapy for months or even years, this high-ticket model aims to achieve lasting results in a more concentrated time frame.
Exactly. And this approach can also be incredibly empowering for the client. It sends the message that they have the inner resources to create change quickly and effectively.
I love that reframing. It's not about being fixed by the therapist, but about tapping into their own potential for healing and growth.
You got it. And this ties back to the whole idea of valuing the transformation. If clients believe they can achieve their goals quickly and effectively, they're more likely to invest in a higher price program.
Okay, so we've talked about the shift in mindset from hourly rates to value, the psychology of pricing, and the idea of efficiency. But how does a hypnotherapist actually sell these high-ticket transformations?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, most therapists aren't trained in sales techniques.
You're absolutely right, and that's where Virginie's guide offers some incredibly practical tools, starting with strategy call scripts. She actually provides really detailed scripts that therapists can use as a framework for those initial consultations with potential clients.
Oh, wow. That's incredibly helpful. It's like having a roadmap for those conversations.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not naturally comfortable with the sales aspect.
Exactly. And Virginie emphasizes that these scripts are meant to be a starting point, not something to be followed verbatim. It's about understanding the underlying principles and adapting them to your own style and the specific needs of each client.
So it's about finding that balance between having a plan and being present and responsive in the moment.
Absolutely. And she really stresses the importance of active listening throughout the strategy call. It's not just about delivering a pitch. It's about creating a genuine connection and understanding the client's unique challenges and aspirations.
That makes so much sense. I think people can really tell when someone is genuinely listening to them versus just waiting for their turn to talk.
Exactly. And one of the tips Virginie offers is to record your strategy calls so you can listen back and identify areas for improvement. It's like having your own personal sales coach.
I love that idea. It's so easy to miss things in the heat of the moment. But listening back allows you to reflect on your communication style and how you're coming across.
It's a fantastic way to refine your approach and become more confident in those conversations. So let's actually dive into these scripts a bit. What are some of the key elements that Virginie highlights?
Okay, let's unpack this secret framework that she mentions. Where does the conversation typically begin?
Well, the first step is all about creating a safe and welcoming space for the client to open up. It's about building rapport and trust from the very beginning.
So it's not jumping right into the sales pitch,
Yeah.
but establishing a human connection first.
Exactly. And then you move into understanding the client's situation more deeply. Virginie provides specific questions that help the client articulate the root cause of that problem and how it's impacting their life.
It's like helping them connect the dots between their symptoms and the underlying issue, which they may not even be fully aware of.
Yes. And she also talks about this idea of causing pain, which sounds a bit intense, but it's not about inflicting actual pain, of course.
I was just about to ask about that. So what does she mean by causing pain?
It's about helping the client really feel the weight of the problem and the consequences of overdressing it. It's highlighting the cost of inaction, both in terms of their current suffering and what they might miss out on in the future.
I see. It's about helping them see the bigger picture and the potential benefits of making a change. But how do you do that ethically without making the client feel pressured or manipulated?
That's a great question. And it's something Virginie addresses directly in the guide. She emphasizes the importance of empathy and authenticity throughout the process. It's not about using scare tactics, but about helping the client connect with their own motivations and desires for a better life.
So it's about empowering them to make an informed decision, not pressuring them into something they're not ready for.
Exactly. And by highlighting the potential costs of inaction, you're actually shifting their focus from the price of your services to the value of the transformation. It's a subtle but powerful reframing.
Okay, so you've helped them understand the problem and the potential consequences of not addressing it. What's next in this secret framework?
The next step is super interesting. Virginie suggests guiding them into the future, helping them visualize what life would be like without the problem holding them back.
So it's about painting a picture of their ideal outcome and getting them excited about the possibilities.
I love that approach because it taps into the power of hope and motivation.
Exactly. And once they can really see and feel that desired future, it's much easier to transition into discussing your offer and how you can help them bridge the gap between where they are now and where they want to be.
And I'm guessing that's when the objections start to surface, especially when it comes to the price.
Absolutely. But Virginie provides specific language for addressing those objections in a way that feels both confident and empathetic. For example, she suggests emphasizing the fact that your fee covers the entire transformation, regardless of how many sessions it takes.
So it's not about charging per hour,
Yeah.
but for the desired outcome, which ties back to the concept of efficiency we talked about earlier.
Right. It's in both your interest and the client's to achieve the desired results as quickly as possible. She also revisits that locksmith analogy, reminding therapists to position themselves as the expert who can get the job done efficiently, even if it costs a bit more upfront. I love how she weaves those analogies throughout the guide. It makes the concept so much more relatable and memorable.
And she doesn't just rely on one or two strategies for handling objections. She offers a whole toolbox. Another approach she suggests is comparing the cost of your program to other investments people make, like that $9,000 Chanel bag or a 2-month salary engagement ring.
It's a brilliant way to reframe their perspective. It's like, if you're willing to spend that much on a material possession, why not invest in your own well-being and personal growth?
Exactly. And she also emphasizes the importance of highlighting your specialization and expertise. It's about positioning yourself as the go-to person for their specific issue.
So it's not just about being a hypnotherapist, but about being the expert in, say, anxiety or smoking cessation or whatever their specific challenge is.
Exactly. And she even provides specific language for emphasizing your unique approach and the speed at which you can help clients achieve results. It's all about building confidence and credibility.
This is like a masterclass in sales psychology for hypnotherapists. I'm so impressed with how comprehensive and practical these scripts are.
Me too. And you know what really struck me? As I was reading through them, it's not just about selling hypnotherapy. It's about understanding human behavior and what motivates people to make a change.
That's such a great point. It's about tapping into those deeper desires and aspirations and helping the client see how investing in themselves can lead to a more fulfilling life.
Exactly. And one of the final tips Virginie offers is to be clear and confident when you state your price. Don't be afraid to let the client sit with that number for a moment.
It's like that pregnant pause after you ask someone to marry you. The tension is palpable.
Haha, that's a great analogy. But seriously, that silence can be incredibly powerful. It allows the client to process the information and ask any questions they might have. It also shows that you're not desperate for their business, which can actually make you more appealing.
It's like that saying, act like you've been there before. Confidence is key.
Absolutely. And, you know, what's fascinating is that Virginie even suggests that these strategy calls can be so powerful that you might end up resolving the client's issue right there on the call.
Whoa, really? Like accidental hypnotherapy?
Part of it just goes to show you how much of this work is about creating a connection, building trust, and helping people tap into their own inner resources.
This whole approach to high-ticket hypnotherapy is really mind-blowing. So much more goes into it than I ever realized. But I'm curious about the ethical considerations. I mean, I can see how this approach could be incredibly empowering for clients. But is there a risk that it could become too focused on the financial aspect?
That's a really important question, and it's something Virginie addresses head-on in the guide. She believes that hypnotherapists can be both heart-centered healers and a successful entrepreneur. It's not about choosing one over the other, but finding a way to integrate both.
Yeah, I appreciate that she acknowledges that tension, because it can feel a bit uncomfortable to talk about money in the context of therapy. But at the same time, therapists deserve to be compensated fairly for their expertise and the value they provide.
Absolutely. And she points out that this model can actually allow therapists to serve more people in the long run. By charging higher fees for a select group of clients, they can potentially reduce their workload and have more time and energy to devote to those who might not be able to afford their services.
That makes sense. It's like creating a sustainable business model that allows you to both thrive financially and make a bigger impact.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that not every client will be a good fit for this model. Just like with any product or service, there's a target audience. Virginie encourages therapists to be clear about their ideal client and attract those who resonate with their values and approach.
That's a good reminder. It's not about trying to be everything to everyone, but finding your niche and serving those you're best equipped to help.
And speaking of niche, Virginie also emphasizes the importance of packaging your services in a way that feels valuable and appealing. Instead of just offering a series of sessions, she suggests creating a program with a specific time frame and outcome.
I can see how that would make it feel more structured and results-oriented. It's like signing up for a course or a workshop instead of just booking individual appointments.
Exactly. And by incorporating a specific time frame, like a 30-day program to overcome anxiety, it creates a sense of urgency and motivation for the client.
It taps into that desire for tangible results and progress, which I think is really appealing in today's fast-paced world.
Absolutely. And it also reinforces that emphasis on efficiency that we've talked about. It's about achieving lasting change in a condensed time frame.
But what about those who genuinely can't afford these higher fees? Even if they see the value, does this model exclude them entirely?
Not necessarily. Virginia acknowledges that not everyone will be able to afford this type of investment, and that's okay.
I know.
Just like with any luxury item, there are other options available.
Right. It's about finding what works best for your individual circumstances and priorities.
And she also points out that sometimes those who initially say they can't afford it end up finding a way once they truly understand the value and commit to making a change.
It's about aligning your actions with your values, right? If you truly believe in the transformative power of this work, you'll find a way to make it happen.
I love that perspective. And this whole conversation has really made me rethink the possibilities of hypnotherapy. It's not just about addressing symptoms, but about unlocking people's potential for profound and lasting change.
Me too. It's inspiring to see how this high-ticket model is challenging the traditional approach and paving the way for a more sustainable and impactful future for hypnotherapy.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening who's curious to learn more, I highly recommend checking out Virginie Eymere's guide, The Art of Selling High-Ticket Transformations. It's a game changer for anyone looking to build a successful and fulfilling hypnotherapy practice.
Well, it's been a fascinating deep dive, and as always, we encourage you to continue exploring these ideas and discovering what resonates with you. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge and expanding your horizons.